I should have known better. My husband and I were high school sweethearts and have been together since I was 16 and he was 18. He joined the army after 4 months of dating, and we were married about 2 years later when I was barely 19. We've been together a little over 5 years now. Anyways, my husband deployed for the second time, and long story short, after being pursued over and over again, I cheated. I cheated emotionally and physically for 10 out of the 12 months he was gone. He came home June 1st, and on June 17th I admitted to what I had done. After he came into my workplace and asked me, I was planning on seeing a therapist the next day to discuss it with him, but yeah, happened before I could. And I said yes. 2.5 hours later, longest 2 hours of my life. I got off work and went home, and he asked where I was staying because I wasn't staying there. Well, I had been hoping I could stay in the guest bedroom, but since he wanted me gone, I left within the hour with a few of my belongings. I ended up staying with the other man because my only other option was my mom, and she lives over an hour away and I work and go to school here. Anyways, within the next couple days, we divided up our bank accounts and took my name off everything. He said he wanted our divorce to be amicable. We both agreed not to divorce for another year because he'd lose over $1,000 a month from the army and couldn't afford the house. And I need the medical benefits. Once a day I'd go to the house and he'd chew me out basically and say how much I hurt him. Things I expected, but he also said I left him for another man even though he told me to get out, so I did. Now that my stupid fog has been lifted, my feelings for my wonderfully perfect husband have come back and I want to be back home. I always wanted to be there. But I really know now that he is who I want forever. Well, last night while I was at the OM apartment, his neighbor kicked my dog, and my dog means more to me than basically anything, and I grabbed him and my keys and I got in the car to get away while crying hysterically because that just topped off all my stress. I ended up going to my husband's house and he comforted me, and we eventually started talking after he chewed me out about what I did for like 45 minutes. I spent 7 hours with him last night and he just held me and kissed me and cried a little and did all the things he used to do. He said he just wanted to pretend like none of this happened and get back to the normal us. He tried to engage, but I declined to spare him any pain after I left. This morning I had to go back over there to get the other dog for the weekend because he's going out of town to clear his head till Monday. And we ended up cuddling again and did eventually had a good time. A few hours later, while he drove to his destination, he called me and we talked for 1 hour. He told me his parents hate me for cheating on him and some other stuff. It's funny cause my dad went to a bar on 2 separate occasions and witnessed his dad cheating on his mom. Hypocrite much. I want to bring that up, but I have bigger things to worry about right now. Anyways, the reason I'm writing my whole life story for you guys is because I need help. I messed up bad and I want to fix it more than anything in the world. He made a comment on Tuesday that he kind of understands how his coworkers took their cheating wives back, but that he hates me so much and is so disgusted with me. But yet he loves me so much and doesn't want to let me go and makes excuses to get me to come over. When we're not physically together, he's so angry and never talks about a possibility of us reconciling. But when we're together it seems like there is hope for us. I am still living with the other man cause it's my only option at this time. I have been hinting that I don't want to be in this relationship to him but feel I have to so I won't be homeless. But he hasn't mentioned letting me stay in the guest bedroom. But I can tell it hurts him that I am over here and not with my mom or something. I don't get it. What am I supposed to do? He loves when I come over and he is super affectionate with me. But it seems to fall on the back burner when we aren't together. How can I fix this? Is this fixable? I know I need to get out of this other man place and he's driving me crazy anyways, but I have nowhere to go unless my husband says I can live in the other room. But he's made no hints about it and I am definitely not going to ask that since I messed up. Sorry for the long story, but this is my life and I need it back, and I will do whatever it takes to get him back and spend the years it will take for him to trust me like he used to. I want to find a place to live but I can't. It's seriously my old house, or this other man. I only work 11 hours a week, making about $500 a month while also in nursing school. I would barely be able to afford the gas of driving around everywhere and things that I need. I haven't told my husband I want to work it out, but only because 1, I think it's obvious by my actions, and 2, I feel if I did, he might say oh well, and I am not ready to hear that yet. As for the give him any answers thing, I've read this forum before, and actually when I got off work, I said, do you have any questions? And he would try to ask questions but then quickly say never mind. I don't want to know. To everything. I feel lost. I married young. Yes, I have my immature moments as I am only 22. This is a huge life lesson for me. We honest to God had the most amazing marriage. I had a blind, dumb, selfish moment and hurt the most amazing husband anyone could ask for no reason other than pure loneliness while he was gone. He's been gone for 3 out of the 5 years we've been together due to the army. He was stronger than me and I've completely learned my lesson. No, I didn't cheat because someone kicked my dog. I am not in a real relationship with the other man. I have no desire to get into anything physical or any kind of affection with him. There is so much tension in his apartment because you can literally feel how unhappy I am. I am seriously considering moving to my mom's. I am also hesitant to do so because she has a new BF and is never home. She's actually currently across the country right now with him. And I will be totally isolated. I want to tell him I am moving in, and a part of me thinks that's what he wants me to do. But I am afraid to because I don't want to push him away. I am thankful for all advice, even the advice I don't agree with, but I am not going to just leave him because eventually it may or may not be the best thing for him. I've never seen another marriage like ours, and I am sorry I messed it up, but I will do whatever it takes to not just let him go. I'm sorry. The relationship with the other man has only gone sour because I want to be with my husband, not because the other man did anything to me. Just wanted to clear that up. I will visit my husband when he comes home on Monday, and I will discuss my wanting to move back into our home. The PP was correct. We both own the home. He can't be too mad by it since he seems to want me to visit with him daily. You guys have been very helpful. While a lot of this info I already knew, it helps hearing it directed at me. I'm sorry for the folks who believe I am too young for this. But I have to disagree. If I can have our home built, maintain it while working and going to school full-time, and prior to this affair have an amazing relationship with the man I married, I don't see a reason to give up on it because I had a stupid moment. Having an affair can happen at any age. Anyone can have a selfish moment like that. I want to move on with it, and I know I married the right man. I couldn't wait till Monday to tell him I need to move back into the house. I just texted him saying I want to move into the guest bedroom, and I added, I don't care how much you don't want to fix this marriage or how much you hate me, but if I don't put every bit of effort to at least say I tried, I couldn't live with myself on top of everything else I did. And I most definitely can't do that living here. And now we're discussing it, but he's mostly just confused as to where this all came from, waiting to hear a reply that describes his feelings. So, I messaged my husband all that, and he said let's talk about it later. Well, he called and I'm pretty much in begging mode. I know we can make it through this. I know I can continue being his wife and not look at another man in that light. I've had a failing moment that I'm learning heavily from, and I would hate to lose such a wonderful man. He was with his friend, so he is going to call me again later tonight. I would go home. Trust me, I long for it. And to the person who asked if I let him stay in our home, yes, he lives there, but he's out of town until Sunday or Monday, and the security lock is on, and I noticed a few days ago he had changed the password. I would go sleep in my car, but I actually just did that on Tuesday, and I only lasted about 2 hours since it's so hot and humid here in Texas, and I also got eaten up by mosquitoes. I contacted my mom about staying with her until this weekend is over, and she is going to be in New York for another 6 days. I also have 2 70-pound dogs with me. I am not trying to give you guys excuses. I just want you to know I am sincerely trying to, and or I'm taking your advice. I just told the other man that I am leaving ASAP and he cried, but that's the least of my concern. I also have my insurance set up and qualified to get me started in counseling on Monday. I am going to go alone for a bit, and hopefully, I haven't asked, he will see my efforts and come along with me. Unfortunately, he hasn't asked too many questions about the affair as I would really like to answer them for him, but I'm letting him deal with it the way he wants. Anyways, I feel my best shot is for me to get into our home and show him how much I want to correct my mistake. I will beg and plead as much as it takes. He already had all my passwords and stuff, but I've actually deactivated my FB account already, even though that had nothing to do with it. Anything to show him I am trying my best. I am also sorry for offending any of you, as I know many of you have gone through the same thing. And as for the comment about the military marriages being basically a joke, unfortunately it's true. The other day an old coworker invited me to a get-together with a bunch of army wives and their husbands. And while the husbands were in the garage, the wives congregated in the kitchen, and I discovered they all were cheating on their husbands, and there I was right along with them, and I felt disgusted to be in that group. Mine is the only one that knows though. But yeah, it runs rampant in the military. I know this marriage is worth salvaging, and I will really give this my best shot. The ironic thing about it, he told me last night that he lied to me while overseas about the women there. He said adultery ran rampant. He said one of his close married friends cheated the whole deployment but wouldn't tell me who. Although I only know of one married couple that we hang out with a lot. But he said the women there were very promiscuous, and just like what was stated earlier, the guys felt entitled to cheat. But of course, he told me that only one male, female were cheating, and he didn't even know them. He didn't want me worrying about him. I wanted to clarify that the women I was with a few days ago, I only knew one of them. I called my old coworker up to get out of the other man's house, and she said she was about to go to a little get-together and said I was welcome to come. This is when I also found out about her affair as well as all 5 of the other women's affairs. I do not go clubbing, or go to bars, or find random men to chat with. Before this occurred, my husband and I were inseparable, and if I was invited somewhere, I made sure he came with. If he were invited somewhere and I wasn't in the mood to go, I'd tell him to go alone, but he never goes because I am his best friend and it wouldn't be fun without me, according to him. I actually recently went to my first club a couple months ago after my old boss kept nagging me to go and I was completely disgusted and uncomfortable and left on my own. I also do have a job. I work part-time. Quitting school is not an option. I already would have been graduated, but due to all the moving around with the Army, I never could finish a program I started, and now I've finally been able to do so. And with 11 months left in the program only, it would be stupid to do so, especially since they already got the roster for the next school year picked and I'd have to wait until 2 years later to join that program where I left off. I was supposed to get paid yesterday, but my paycheck never came for some reason since I discontinued my direct deposit. They said come in tomorrow and it should be there. I don't know. I need money though. I have considered it, and yes, I am taking the easy way out by being here. I do have friends, but since I isolated myself with my husband, I don't have any really good friends. I have one in Fort who would love for me to stay there, but that's almost 3 hours away. Last night I was really considering just driving to other Fort and meeting with my husband since that's where he is, and just staying with my dad up there. I don't know my boundaries with my husband. He said when he gets home, we can discuss my living arrangements, but hasn't given me any hints about if he wants me there or not. I am going to be forceful and put myself there though. I need to be more assertive in this. I don't know, maybe make awesome dinners for him every day, keep the house spotless like I used to. Mow the backyard that he's growing out. We have video cameras in our house and he can make sure I am there the whole time. He can monitor when each door, window opens and everything. If he has to go to field training for a few weeks, then I will leave a bedside table light on and he can watch me in bed sleeping every night. I truly believe I cheated because I was extremely lonely between nursing school and working. The last deployment I was living with my parents, and although I worked and went to school full-time then as well, I had someone to talk to besides my dogs. And you know what? Yeah, he may deploy again, and yeah, I will get lonely again, but I know what it feels like to almost lose my spouse and get slapped in the face with reality, and I will find someone to talk to if I must. I know that I didn't make just a mistake, but when I discuss what I did with my husband, I use euphemisms because I feel that keeps the conversation at a lower intensity, and we can focus on what's bothering him, rather than just starting more anger and getting off topic. Oh, last night I told him that I don't care if he feels the need to bring up my affair every single day. For years. I deserve it and he's worth it, and I am just going to sit and take it. And for those of you who feel me going to counseling, and hopefully him coming with eventually, wouldn't help. I don't know what to say about that. The military offers free counseling. This is going to be taken care of through them, thankfully. Very grateful for that. No pregnancy. I've been taking my BC pills religiously for 5 years, and I would never even contemplate making a baby before I graduate. And now not until my husband trusts me and we are in a happy place together again. I am 22, I have no urge to reproduce. My husband is 23, and if you say the word baby his eyes get all big and he might as well break out into a sweat. Neither of us are ready for that, not even before this. I have an honest-to-God question. Will me moving back into the house, in the guest bedroom, have the chance to make him angrier with me? Meaning, lessen the chance for him to want to reconcile our marriage. I will still do it, but I am really trying to make him as comfortable and happy as I can since I've messed up completely. I've never done this before, and I want to make sure I do this as right as I can from now on. No steps backwards if possible. The no contact thing will be easy. I would drop whatever he wanted in a heartbeat. I've done it before. Between him and I, he actually has the problem with dropping someone for his spouse. I don't feel like diving into that incident with him, but long story short, inappropriate text messages from another woman at 3 a.m. for 2 weeks while he was away. And I asked him to NC, and he couldn't do it apparently until he was back home. I always thought he cheated until Wednesday night. He finally convinced me that he really didn't. It was something I held on to for 2 years, but I had for the most part gotten over it. I've had no trust issues since then, as long as that one in particular woman never talked to him again. I was very busy, nursing school 32 hours a week and homework on top of that. Working 11 hours a week. Working out. Yard work 5 hours a week, training my dogs. It seemed to be just nighttime. I wish I could just pass out after my day was over, but I couldn't. I had a weak moment which turned into a long, drawn-out affair. I have told him I am moving in, and he said we will talk about it when he gets home. In my heart I feel like he wants me there. He's only mentioned being disgusted by me once. Most of the time it's just he hates me while loving me incredibly at the same time. When I am there, he wants my affection and me there to talk with him. Before we started getting all cuddly, he said even though we aren't together anymore, we are such great friends. I could totally see me inviting you over for BBQs and to hang out and such. Maybe go out for drinks. So, I feel welcome there. I just want to take this at a speed that is comfortable to him. Also, my dad just took him out for lunch, and my husband just texted me saying he's finally decided what he wants to do with his life, and he will be getting out of the Army in October next year, and he will be working with my dad at the railroad, which may help him understand that there won't be any more deployments and we can work on this trust building. My father and mother are very supportive of me. I've been trying to reach my dad, but he has been at work most of the time, so we've only been able to text. But today we've been talking all day and he wants to help me. Thank God. He is driving the 3 hours it takes to get to the city I am in tomorrow morning and wait for my husband to return from his trip. Once my husband gets home, we are going to tell him I have two choices. I can stay with him in our home, but in the guest bedroom if he'd like, or my dad is going to get me an apartment and basically support me until I graduate and get a job. I have way too much pride to ask my parents for money, but he demanded that I let him support me because he never has to, like most parents do with their children. If I get an apartment, I will continue to try and save my marriage for as long as he lets me. If he lets me stay in the house, my dad said I need to be stuck to my husband like glue. Said if he goes for a run at 4 a.m., I need to go running with him at 4 a.m. Anything he does besides go to work, I need to be right with him to show him I am committed and want this to work. My dad has also demanded that he is taking my dogs for a few weeks. Unless I have to get my own apartment, then perhaps longer. So we can focus on our marriage. My father-in-law has never been supportive of our marriage. Well, he has always been nice to me, but I can tell he trusts nobody, including his own family. When my husband was possibly cheating on me, now I doubt it, but at the time I was 100% convinced. His dad made him change all the passwords so I couldn't have any money. All the while my paychecks were being directly deposited into our joint account. I can guarantee that his father is pushing ideas into his head about leaving me and not talking to me. As this whole time my husband has been at his father's house. He has been basically ignoring me. I need my husband home ASAP so we can discuss our marriage without his dad trying to push him a certain way. I am really tempted to out my father-in-law for his cheating that my dad witnessed out in public. Trying to maintain that urge though. I am in my house right now and my dad will be on his way in a few hours as I want him to be here before my husband. Knowing me I might forget to say something. I don't believe anymore that my husband cheated. I think he was just letting a woman text him at inappropriate times. 3 a.m. I didn't see why I was so bent out of shape about it. He was 16 hours away though, so who knows. I've given up on that conquest and really don't care anymore, seeing as I will never fully know. My father-in-law is very manipulative and he is very greedy for money. My husband and I have saved our asses off, and after paying off 2 cars with cash, putting $20,000 down on the house, and multiple vacations, we still have $47,000 in our savings accounts. I asked for $15,000 on D-Day because at that moment in time, he was angry and I didn't believe he wanted to give us a shot. Well, I never got said money because we both were procrastinating. I think, I'm not sure, but his dad thinks I am out to get this money or something, as if my husband contributed to it on his own or something. Before nursing school, I was working overtime every week and my full paycheck went to savings. His father can be like a snake at times. I am not sure how to mend that relationship, but that's the least of my worries. I knew in my head I needed to move out, but my options seemed so slim. Being in that apartment with the other man was extremely toxic, which is why I left at 1 a.m. I also know I needed help getting that little push, which some of you guys have done a great job. Being understanding and genuinely trying to help has helped me tremendously. I told my husband when he called me this morning that my dad would be there. His true purpose for being there is in case my husband said he absolutely does not want me living in the house. He can put me into an apartment. My husband will be in the house about 45 minutes before my dad, so I will discuss it with him alone in privacy first. No, he knows we aren't trapping him. He knows my dad and what a good man he is, and he'd never do that. This is our battle, not his. And for those who assume I am just trying to stop a divorce and that's all I am worried about, we weren't even going to file for a divorce for a year anyways. This is strictly about getting us back on track. Oh, and yeah, I am completely going just pretend that whole affair never happened and just sweep it under the rug. Not really. Where do you people come up with this stuff? I already know you are going to say, oh, this happens all the time. We know all. All our assumptions are true and that's your prerogative, but not my future. Good luck to you all. For those of you who have been there, I seriously thank you for the mental push and the help with making this reconciliation work out. Well, he finally brought it up. He said he doesn't think me living here is a good idea and I should take up my dad's offer of living elsewhere in an apartment because there is zero hope for us. I told him, oh well, I am staying in the house. Then my dad and I went out to eat. Husband said he didn't want to come. So, in the middle of eating, my husband called and asked if he could join us because he needed to talk to us both. I said sure. He came in and sat down and said he would be lying if he said there was zero chance of us getting back together. But the chance was so slim that he doubted it, but couldn't tell me for sure no because he was not in the right mindset to make such a permanent decision. So, I am moving into my new apartment tomorrow. He said after he has some space, we may start basically dating. See each other like once a week. If we hit it off, why wouldn't we? We're married. Then see each other more frequently and maybe start having sleepovers if we're still hitting it off and go from there. Or if he meets someone new, then I need to respect his decision. I will. I am so confused. Everyone and every source said to move back in. He needs me to be there for him, but he says he needs space. Lots of space. I am lost right now as to what to do, besides move out. I just hope he enjoys the time we get to spend together whenever he decides to do so. I am hurting because of the pain I caused him and our families. I am trying to do this the best way I can now in order to fix this. Something confusing happened last night though. I told him when we went to bed that I wanted to enjoy one last night in our comfy bed and that I will stay on one side of the bed and I will not harass him. I originally told him I'd be sleeping in the guest bedroom. He agreed to this and we fell asleep just like that, on opposite sides of a king-size bed. Well, I wake up in the middle of the night to him trying to engage with me. Afterwards, he apologized over and over again, saying he shouldn't have done that and he couldn't help himself because there is a good-looking woman lying next to me, but he wanted to snuggle up and fall asleep together afterwards. 3 hours later, while we're still asleep, he initiated again. Afterwards, he kissed me and then he went to work, but not until he finished saying how horrible he feels and he doesn't want me to think that we're completely back together, and he shouldn't have done it not once, but twice in one sleeping period. He said this is why we should be staying in separate houses for a while. So, I am confused. I definitely didn't want to turn him down, not just for mine and his enjoyment, but also because I wanted him to feel close to me again and maybe guarantee that he might miss me a little while I am gone. Why did he do that? And I am moving into my new place in 2 hours. Okay, just got back to my apartment. That still feels weird to say, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I got to spend a decent amount of time talking with him. This whole anger thing is difficult to deal with, but definitely doable and worth overcoming. Earlier he thought I was completely lying. I told him I had the OM fix the fence months ago. He said that was a complete lie cause he checked every nail and not one new one was found, and so he thinks I am still continuously lying. And I tried to tell him I am done lying, and this went on for 30 minutes and I was getting frustrated. He was most definitely frustrated. And I felt, what's the point of telling him the truth cause he knows I have nothing to hide and yet still thinks I am lying. So, I did something gutsy and I didn't know if it were a bad decision or a good one. I called the other man, put him on speakerphone and asked him, what did you do to my fence back in November? And he said exactly what I did. Then I said thank you and hung up. While I was asking him that question, my husband looked 553 and was basically cussing out loud and saying he didn't care what the other man said. Then he sat down and apologized because honestly that was the only way he would have believed me, and he was glad I did it because it meant I'm not sitting here lying, even when the evidence says otherwise to him. I was very hesitant about calling the other man since I am trying NC. The only reason I said trying is because I accidentally left the spare key to my car at his house and I need to get it back, but after that. And my dad is coming with me to get it. I am strictly NC. I did tell him the code to open my door so he can come whenever. He doesn't have to call. If I am not home, he can call and ask where I am and I will be right there. I promised him if he ever decided out of the blue to come over at 2 a.m., I would be alone in my bed. I was meaning to tell him he can sleep with me whenever he wants. Totally forgot. He got very angry inside while we were talking and said at that moment in time, he had no desire to R. But he is on an emotional roller coaster and tomorrow he will feel different. But yeah, I very much so plan on improving myself. I have about 15 pounds I could lose, I think, and tone up a bit. Plus, my nursing school could use more attention from me. Then I will continue as long as possible with my counseling. I am very excited about tomorrow. I am also thinking of taking up a new hobby but haven't decided yet what. I've been thinking about what he said, and it's making sense to me now that I am out of the house. But not with the other man. He said he will ask me out for dinner whenever he thinks that when we're out to eat, we will have so much to talk about that the other man won't even need to be discussed. So, we can just enjoy each other. It makes sense. Didn't really reject him for any bonding. We were still doing it 2 times a week before he deployed. But he had no idea how much I hated it. I told him today, not so much about how unpleasant I found it, but about how much better it was last night, and I know he really put passion and work into making sure I was satisfied. I met the other man while I worked at a veterinarian clinic. He brought his puppy in for an emergency, and I was the one who assisted him, and ever since then he has been completely entranced by me. At the time, my wedding ring was missing in area for 4 months cause my cat ran off with it. And so it took months before he had the nerve to ask me. I had a boyfriend. Anyways, months later we eventually started our affair. It was a very, very emotional affair. We got into it a lot because he wanted me to leave my husband, and it hurt him every day, especially as the homecoming date got closer. He loves very passionately and deeply and was the most blunt and straightforward person I will ever meet in my life, I believe. It was also a very, very physical affair. He is an extremely attractive and fit man, something I will never be able to tell my husband, unless he asks. And I doubt he will because he was never able to, and I think he assumes I am broken or something. Because I always thought I was, is that the OM is the only person to have ever given me a good time. That is a hard realization to come to, but my husband is still worth it. Way worth it. And I don't mind at all getting to enjoy the bonding with my husband, even if it means I don't get a good time. He had already known about the fence thing. Long story, but the OM accidentally broke a board from the fence and messed up the one next to it. I don't plan on bringing the good time thing up. He wouldn't be able to look past that. He is having a hard time dealing with my perception of how our bonding life used to be. That would crush him further. I am all for being honest, and everything else I would be. But that, I don't think I can. Oh, and yes, my wedding ring was coincidentally found the day my husband was deploying. I said since he was leaving, I wanted to rearrange the furniture, but it was too heavy for me and asked if he could help move the sectional and stuff, and bam. There it was, under the rug that was under the sectional. I went to counseling this morning and I was kind of disappointed. The first 20 minutes and last 15 minutes we discussed what happened. The middle 25 minutes I had to listen to the counselor talk about himself. I was confused because then I felt like the counselor and ended up not getting much help from this guy. Even he told me being in a separate household is going to make this really hard and I should be in the same house. But my husband told me being in the house would be detrimental to AR. The counselor was confused by all of my husband's mixed signals as well, but said it seems hopeful since he tried to implement what I had asked him to do previously in the bedroom. I don't know. The counselor really wants my husband to come with next time, but that will be tricky to get him to do. Since I asked him if he would come eventually last night and he said not yet. Maybe later. I guess he wants to deal with it on his own. I think I am just going to totally leave my husband alone for 3 or so days unless he decides to contact me, and see if he even wants to contact me in that period of time. I went to Barnes & Noble after my counseling session to see if maybe a book might be of assistance to me since the guy wasn't really. I bought 2 books, and the first one seems extremely helpful so far, page 60. And it makes so much sense and I would really like my husband to read it. He doesn't ever read books, but I think while he's working tonight, I will leave him a little note on top of the book asking to try to at least read 20 pages for me. He saw me reading the book at the house while I was waiting on a friend and asked if the counselor gave me the book, and I told him no. I got it for myself and he got quiet for a little bit. But it felt like a good silence. How you feel about the wife's side of the story? My comment, part 2 coming later today as well. Sub and bell and see you in the ending.